So the first question I have for you is how did you become interested in working in animation?
Yeah, I always like wanted to do something with art. Like that was always what came like easy to me. Like I would always like work hard on it and I felt like I was always like improving and stuff like from the young age of like whatever, right? My mom's an artist. She used to draw too. And so I grew up like always doing art. And I knew that I wanted to do something with art and like my family, they really wanted me to do something like STEM, right? um like IT stuff. And that was like always like I wanted to, but that it wasn't something that I was like interested in. And then in high school, um I moved from LA to Texas, and in the high school that I was in Texas, I have to take this like one like digital like animation kind of class, and it was like one of those like required things. It was like a lot of freshmen in that class, and I was like a junior. But it was like really awesome. Like I got to do some like really like basic like stuff in like Maya and like basic animation stuff in like Photoshop. And I was like, okay, wait, like I feel like I knew that this was like an industry, but I just never really like looked much into it. So I did. And then by the time of like my senior year in high school, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna pursue this. I knew enough about the pipeline. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in the pipeline, but I was like, you know what, I'm open to it. And then I looked up different like colleges in Texas that are, like good at animation stuff. And one of them was UTD, and I live really close to UTD, so it was like a good option for me. So yeah, that's how I became interested in animation. I was always like really open to like different options and stuff. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So being an artist runs in the family. I did not know that
Yeah.
about. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool there, and that your high school experience has helped you out with figuring out what you want to do as well. And it's good because I mean it's different for everybody how long they takes them to figure out what they want to do with their lives. But the fact that you figured it out in high school, I guess that's it. That saved you a lot of stress moving forward.
Yeah. I used to feel like I used to feel like when I first came into like ATEC, like everyone who wanted to do animation stuff, like there were some classes that you like multiple classes that you could take, I guess, like even in high school I had to do the animation. I was like, oh my God, I'm so behind. But it was okay. It was all good. As long as you kind of figure it out whenever you do and you work hard, it's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And mentioning ATEC, so how has your time as an ATEC student helped you out with pursuing your goal of working in animation?
So I love ATEC. Like I always have. I think that uh I lucked out in the classes I took in the order I took them in. Um, I always say I'm like I figured out that I'm a lighting and compositing artist. And I figured out that I wanted to do lighting like really early on. Um, I wasn't like a transfer student, so like my freshman year, I started taking some animation classes, right? Like really basic ones. And then my second semester, I took lighting and compositing one. It was my first ever like actual like animation, like those intro classes. And I was like, I really like this, but wait, like I'm supposed to try like other things out and like, really test the waters. I can't just like the first thing. But I did just like the first thing. That summer I ended up taking, this was the only summer I took summer classes, right? I ended up taking modeling and texturing and some other classes. Um, and so that also set me a little ahead. Like I had two classes before I applied for the animation pathway. So that I applied the first semester I could for the pathway, and it really did like help me have good content for it. Um, and at the end of the day, like I tried out some other things, right? And I still like love lighting and compositing. So I figured it out really early. And I know like a lot of people don't figure out what they want to do in ATEC like right away. And I think that's okay. I just lucked out. So it's been really good for me. Like I was able to like really curate my ATEC experience to what I knew I wanted, right? So as like a lighting artist, I knew that some skills I really wanted to have by the time I graduated. So I made sure to take those classes. Um, a little like side note, for instance, I'm a visual arts minor as well, and I took classes that I felt would help me become a better artist. Like I took black and white photography because lighting has a lot to do with the way that light reacts with stuff. So I took black and white photography so that I would understand like the way that literally like light works. Because like with film photography, you have to pay attention to the way that light is affecting your photography. Um, and then I took like surfacing. I'm not a surfacing artist. Like I don't primarily consider myself a surfacing artist. I do really enjoy it, but I took it because lighting and surfacing are so like interconnected. So I had those opportunities, those classes were like available to me. It was a little lucky because sometimes some classes don't even get offered. So it's just really staying on top of what classes are being offered, knowing what you want to get. If you can figure it out fast enough, otherwise there's no harm in like experimenting. And that was my experience. It was good. I feel like I was able to take the classes I needed to like really get better at my craft, which is important to me.
Oh yeah, I could tell that just your willingness to just learn about other different things to influence your work helps you out because I'm a fan of your work. I've seen your work, especially your lighting projects as well. I can tell, yeah, she knows what she's doing and that you actually are paying attention, like in the classes and things like that, and you actually want to grow and be better. And so for you, to the best that you can answer, after you graduate, what are your plans career wise?
So I want to be a lighting and compositing artist at a studio, preferably a bigger studio. I don't. Um, I think I'm determined that any path I take, eventually, no matter how long it takes, I will end up in like a big studio. But if I'm at like little studios and then like I eventually like gain that knowledge, that's not a bad thing at all. I would love to like learn from like different studios and like yeah, so I want to work on feature films, right? Or just animated films in general. Um, I think that's where like my heart is. I love telling stories. I think that's such a big part of lighting. So yeah, I just want to work in the industry. Yeah.
I'm excited to see where your career goes because you're mentioning you want to work, you don't mind working for smaller studios, you want to work on features as well, working for bigger studios. So I'm excited to see where your path goes. I think you're going to go to a lot of different interesting places in the industry.
I would love to do that. Yeah. I think some one of I forget his name, but amazing or I think his name is Tarun Locke. I follow him on Instagram. I think I think it's either him or someone was mentioning him. Um, I think it might have been him. I'm not really sure. I think he's the animator that worked on Spider-Verse. Um, and he was talking about how he was at a different studio and that was why he got hired at like Disney or like I think it was Pixar. And I like and a lot of like artists that I like really respect, like people's like webinars I've been to and stuff, right? They always talk about how they didn't get into like Disney or Pixar right away. And if you do, like that's great, right? But I don't think that's always like the realistic like outlook on things. And I think understanding that working at those smaller studios and gaining that like knowledge and trying out those different styles is like insane experience, right? So I think that would also be like a really awesome path to get to where I want to be.